Choosing Love by ginnyrules27, Chapter 14. Mal rushed down the hall of Oridon Prep, frantically trying to get to her next class before she had another meeting with Natalie. Ever since Leah's exile, her handler had been piling on more and more Lady of the Court lessons. It was one thing to be a lady by right, what with her father being a god, but she still needed to know how to act. God forbid she accidentally embarrassed Ben, right? But it was getting to be a bit much. She just felt stressed and panicked all the time. And what was worse was she had the feeling those emotions were leaking out through her mental link because she could feel a constant pressure there, as if someone was trying to talk to her. I know someone's trying to talk to me though, Mal thought, clutching her books to her chest like a shield as she wove through the crowded hallway, keeping her head down slightly as to avoid detection. It's been about 3 months since Ben's coronation, and I've had the mental link on mute ever since. Mum must be going spare, but I just can't talk with her about this. It'd be like admitting defeat, and VKs don't do that. Not to mention it almost seemed cruel. Her mother was still on the Isle for another 3 months. Talking to her about everything that was going on would only hurt her, since there was nothing Persephone could do. Quickly cutting through the quad as if to take a shortcut, Mal couldn't help but smile as she felt the sun on her skin. She had lived 16 years without the sun, so whenever she could now, she took the opportunity to feel it on her. Mal! She was startled by an unfamiliar voice calling her name. Whirling around, she could see about 7 adults, each one armed with microphones and a few cameras, rushing towards her. How does it feel to be approaching your 3-month anniversary with King Ben? Mal, love your dress. Is that one of Evie's designs? Or did you switch it up this time? Mal! Mal! Mal tried frantically looking around, searching for a break in the chain as to allow her to escape, but no luck. The reporters had surrounded her like hyenas that would surround their prey on the Isle. Shenzi would probably not be happy to hear that comparison now that I think about it, Mal thought as the reporters continued to lobby questions at her without giving her time to answer. Mal, can you address the allegations that Maleficent is truly your mother? Mal's eyes flashed. What proof is there that Maleficent is my mother? A page in a registry that she put there herself? It takes more to be a mother than just a blood connection, you know. She knew she shouldn't have snapped at that. All it would do was add fuel to the fire. But she was honestly fed up with people not realizing that Maleficent was not her mother. Well, seeing as you have the same shade of green eyes as Maleficent, and both Lord Hades and Lady Persephone have blue eyes. Clearly you need to learn your biology, Mal scoffed. Green eyes are considered blue on the genetic scale, and 2 blue-eyed parents can produce a green-eyed child. A green-eyed child who has the exact same shade as Maleficent? Mal's eyes flashed again. She could feel her magic bubble up inside her, yearning to be let out. She never noticed, in her internal panic, the darkening of the sky above her, or the ominous rumble of thunder in the background. All right, break it up! The reporters and Mal turned their heads to see Macaria marching towards them, her 2 brothers flanking her on either side. Mal hadn't expected a rescue from her Olympian cousins, but that didn't mean she wasn't grateful for it. Don't you lot have anything better to do? Macaria snapped as she began to push through the mob of reporters. Honestly, cornering a 16-year-old girl who did nothing but try to get to class? Let's go, Mal. She gently looped her arm through Mal's and began walking off, Hillis and Herky flanking either side and preventing any of the reporters from being able to ask any additional questions. It wasn't until they were safely inside the building that Macaria let go of Mal's arm. Thanks, Mal said softly. Don't mention it, Macaria said with a soft smile. Hillis thought maybe those piranhas would get scared off by the darkening sky, but when that didn't happen, we thought we'd come and give an assist. An assist you'd know about if you didn't have us all on mute, Macaria thought with a small frown. She had had her brothers try the mental link as well, and sure enough, they were unable to reach Mal. Fairy Godmother's not going to be happy to know reporters are on the grounds. Hillis frowned, bringing Macaria's attention back to the matter at hand. With how many of the students are heirs to their kingdom's thrones, they have the right to expect privacy. Plus, the parents will probably expect their kids won't be hounded when they go to class. Oh, gods, class! Mal exclaimed, her fingers tingling due to the build-up of magic that was still yearning to be let out. I'm so late! I've got to... Mal, calm down, Macaria said. What class are you going to? Life skills without magic. Wait, seriously? They put you in that class when you're a godling? Macaria asked before shaking her head slightly, as if to get herself back on track. Well, anyway, Merryweather will understand you being a bit late. Especially if she turns on the news. Herky spoke up, holding his phone to his older sister. Just got an alert. Lady Mal freaks out at reporters. Mal groaned as Macaria watched the clip. She hated hearing her voice. Hated how annoyed and slightly panicked she sounded. On the aisle, she had been the best at keeping her voice cool and calm. The only ones who could really tell what she was thinking were Harry, Jay, and Uma. Oh God, Ben's gonna see that! Mal thought as her heart sank into her stomach. He's going to know how much of an embarrassment I am. Had Mal been in a calmer state of mind, she might have realised how ridiculous that line of thinking truly was. After all, this was Ben they were talking about. But with the excitement of the reporters and the build-up of her magic, one could excuse Mal for not exactly thinking clearly. Not to mention there wasn't a single meeting with Natalie where the handler didn't bring up how much of an embarrassment Mal was as a lady. Honestly, at this point, it was just better for Mal to keep her head down rather than snap back. I have to go, Mal said softly. She couldn't keep watching that, but she knew she couldn't go to class at this point either. Her magic was itching to be let out, and while it would be ironic if it happened in her life skills without magic class, Mal didn't want anyone to get hurt because of it. Ignoring Macaria and Hillis calling her name, Mal hightailed it back to her room. One might say she almost sprinted back, based on how fast she was going. Tossing her books on her bed, Mal began to pace back and forth, her breathing growing more frantic and ragged as her magic began to bubble and build. Unable to take it anymore, Mal let loose a fireball. Thankfully, it only hit a nearby trash can, which would be easy enough to replace. Thankfully, Estelle hadn't been in the room, but had been out with his caretaker that Ben had set up, James Porter, an older student who had been set to graduate the following year. He had been vetted and interviewed by Ben and Mal. He was basically Estelle's version of Dean for Ben. Normally, Mal would never have agreed to let someone else who wasn't Hattie or Uma taking care of Estelle, but as her schedule got more and more packed, she knew it wasn't fair for her lovable dog to be cooped up in their dorm room. Thankfully, Estelle took an instant liking to James right away, and if Mal was being honest, so did she. He didn't shy away from asking questions that first day, and he was quick to let her know if something happened with Estelle. But as she looked at herself in the mirror of her vanity, all Mal saw were the same bright green eyes that used to terrorize her as a toddler. The same eyes that allowed people to still make the claim that she was Maleficent's daughter. This wasn't the first time she had hated her eyes. Ever since she was 13, Mal had hated the fact that she had shared the same green eyes as the dragon. Mal laid down on her bed, curled into a ball. She had just gotten back from her one-night-a-week stay at Casa della Dragon, and she still hated it. Hated the fact that she had any connection to Maleficent at all. Hated the fact that she saw the same eyes whenever she looked in a mirror. "Mally," Persephone said softly as she knocked on the doorframe. "Can I come in?" "It's your house, Mum," Mal muttered. Persephone gave a sad smile at that as she walked into Mal's room. "It may be my home, but it's also your home too, Mal. I just wanted to check on you. Hattie said you seemed a bit down when you came home. Maleficent didn't... She didn't give you a lesson, as you kids call them." "No," Mal said, shaking her head. "She's not happy with my level of villainy, but for a change she's willing to ignore it this week. I think she's coming up with a new plan for getting off the Isle. Not like it'll work. Best to let her find that out for herself," Persephone said with a small shake of her head. "Mum," Mal said after a few minutes. Why, when you adopted me, why didn't my eyes change? That's a good question, Mal. Persephone said, Remember, I only adopted you magically, meaning biologically you're still Maleficent's. You have some of my powers, though, and I would assume that would also make you a full god, like Haddie, granting you immortality as well, but I'd have to research that. Mal sighed and flopped back on the bed, having sat up when her mother walked in. Did you want your eyes to change? Persephone asked. Kinda, Mal said in a small voice. A voice that didn't really suit her. I'm tired of seeing Maleficent's eyes everywhere I go. It's almost like a reminder that no matter what I do, I can't escape her. She'll always have some claim to me. Persephone sighed and brushed her fingers through Mal's hair. Mal, honey, you know I love your eyes. I love every bit of you. But the last thing I want is for you to be unhappy. If it truly bothers you that much, would you want me to look into getting some contacts to give you a different eye colour the next time I'm in Auradon? You can do that? Make your eyes a different colour? Mal asked, her voice soft. Doesn't that more seem like something you would do through magic? Which would be blocked by the barrier? There are magical ways to do it, sweetie. Maybe one day, if you get off the Isle, you can do it magically. But yes, there is a way for you to have different coloured eyes without using magic. But Maleficent would notice, though, wouldn't she? Mal asked softly. She's vain enough that she'd notice if I started sporting a different eye colour. Mal, honey, how many times does she look at your eyes close enough to get a good look at them? Mal shrugged. Probably never, even if she looks at me at all. She's too busy planning her way off the Isle. Exactly. I could really have a way to... No, wait. The only way Uma, Harry and Jay have any protection is because everyone knows I'm Maleficent's daughter. Someone would notice the change. Mal sighed. She was stuck. What if we made it so your eyes were still green, but they weren't the same shade? Persephone suggested. That way people would still see the green eyes, but you wouldn't have the same as Maleficent. After all, most, if not all, of the Isle residents were dumber than a sack of potatoes. All they'd see is a pair of green eyes. But neither you nor Dad have green eyes. Couldn't someone say, blue-eyed parents can still produce a green-eyed child, Mally? It all has to do with genetics, and genetically green eyes are still considered to be blue. So, what do you think? You'd still have green eyes, but not Maleficent green. Mal had, at the time, elected to keep her eyes just in case Maleficent ever noticed. Not to mention the fact that contacts seemed like too much work for the Isle. The last thing she would want was to be seen as prissy, especially as the co-captain of the largest crew or gang on the Isle. But now? I mean, she was in Auradon after all, and no one seemed to bat an eye at prissiness. Going over to her laptop, which had been a gift from Ben, Mal pulled up a search browser and began searching for coloured contacts. I mean, sure, I could do it magically, but the spell might wear off then, Mal thought as she searched, and then you've got the stress of reapplying it. Plus, what if it fades when I'm around Ben? Or worse, Mum and Haddie. I don't need something super different. Maybe just a shade or two darker than my regular colour. Finally, she found a pair that looked like they would be a perfect fit. Unfortunately, like all good plans, there was a snag. Since when does Auradon have an optometrist? Mal muttered to herself as she saw that the contacts were only available through a prescription. Are there any heroes that even have glasses? Oh wait, Milo Thatch. But you'd think Keita would fix his eyes. Glasses don't seem the most practical. After all, you never saw any kids with glasses on the Isle. Then again, the crummy medical system and the lack of sunlight might have prevented those from even being options. Kids might have just grown up thinking they had poor eyesight. Great, what am I going to do now? Mal sighed. There's no way a doctor will give me a prescription for something just because I want it. Not without Mum's or my legal guardian's permission, since I'm under 18. Never mind the fact that I'm a godling and needing a prescription for non-prescription colour contacts is stupid. Mal trailed off, as she began to form an idea, and quickly opened a new tab, pulling up the online shopping website used by many a student, and beloved by all of Oridon. If they didn't have what Mal was looking for, she would be officially out of luck. Typing out the search, Mal scanned the pages, looking for the exact items she would need. It didn't take her long before she found them. Enough contacts to last her 3 months, and there was no need for a prescription. Plus, since Evie had used her laptop to buy new supplies, her Expedite account would still be logged in, meaning Mal could get the contacts in about 2 days. Moving quickly, as to avoid to lose her nerve, Mal added the contacts to her cart. Then, after fishing out her wallet from her pocket... Hey, she was desperate, not stupid. She knew that Evie would probably get an alert if she used the card attached to the blue-haired girl's account. And even if it was only about $30, Mal did not feel comfortable stealing that from Evie. Besides, the fewer people who knew, the better. As the old saying went, the best way to keep a secret? Keep it to yourself. Second best? Tell one person if you must. There is no third best. Evie was great, but if she somehow told her father, Daniel might tell Ben. Or her mum. Or both. Quickly entering in her card information, Mal placed the order and then erased her purchase from Evie's account. Mal relaxed for a split second, until she remembered something. Crap! Evie's account means Evie would get an email about that delivery! But wait, she's ordered so much stuff for her business, she might just think it's related to something she ordered. Though, note to self, set up an account for yourself so this doesn't happen again. Mal nodded and went back to deleting her search history, just on the off chance someone went rifling through her computer. Well, she said once class was finished, I guess I should head to class. After all, Merryweather's going to notice I was gone. Though, what does missing one class really going to hurt? Mal thought, after all, you've got a meeting with Natalie right after that class. What would you rather do? Be stressed out all through class because of how much you've missed, and therefore have a horrible time with Natalie? Or miss one class and have a less than pleasant time with Natalie? Mal sighed. If she was being honest, she knew she'd pick no time with Natalie at all. But she wasn't going to make problems for Ben. I guess I could go over some of the decisions that need to be made for Cotillion, Mal said slowly as she reached over to grab one of the many books that was cluttering her nightstand. Natalie wanted to know what kind of progress is being made, and then if there's time I could read one of the books she gave me. The problem with Natalie piling up on her schedule was that there was never any time to do the additional work she wanted Mal to do. As Natalie would often lament during their meetings, if Mal didn't have the hours blocked off for her magic practice, it would be likely there would be time to start the readings or work in their meetings. I mean, it's not like Natalie respects those hours anyway. How many times has she found a way to cut into that time? Mal thought. It's probably why I've had so many flare-ups recently. Ben had done his part, and lobbied for her 3 hours a week, to be increased to 3 hours a day after her fireball incident, when she had learnt that the food being sent to the Isle had been purposefully turned rotten. Since Ben was the king, and his council were the ones setting up Mal's schedule, there was nothing Natalie could outright do but accept the change. That didn't mean Natalie couldn't overload my schedule, Mal sighed, especially seeing as she has my planner. The older blonde had, quote-unquote, requested Mal give her the planner after Leah's council trial. Mal couldn't escape the feeling that Leah had somehow ordered Natalie to get revenge on her behalf, but she had no way that she could prove that. Mal sighed and cracked open the book that she had taken off the nightstand to read. Honestly, she would have gotten more useful information about talking to someone from the Isle about being a lady of the court than she did reading this dribble. What in the world does it matter what fork I use? It's all going down the same hole anyway, and by reducing the numbers of utensils, you're not washing as many and therefore not using as much in the way of resources. Though multiple forks does mean that you could theoretically stab someone with one fork and keep eating with the other. Somehow she didn't think that was what Natalie had in mind when she said there were some things Mal could learn from this book. The dulcet tones of her cell phone broke through the silence and Mal scrambled to pick it up. Hello? Oh, hi Natalie. No, I didn't know I was running late. No, Natalie, I'm not calling you a liar. I was just saying... Yes, Natalie, I know we've been through this before. No, you're not wasting your time, I promise. I'll be better, Mal said, wincing a little at that last line. It reminded her too much of her toddler years, and how she used to try to please Maleficent, before she learned that there was truly no pleasing the dragon. I'll be right there, Mal said softly. Yes, Natalie, I understand that everything's going to overlap now. Trust me, you've made it clear about how you feel about my training hours. Uh-huh. We can talk more in person. Mal hung up and sighed slightly. There was only so much of her handler she could take before she felt like she was going to explode. This is for Ben, though. Ben's council believe you need Natalie, and I'm not going to make life tougher for Ben. Besides, you're from the Isle. The kids are facing worse than a snobby instructor, Mal thought as she stood up. Hopefully Natalie hasn't seen the news, so she won't know about the reporter incident earlier. Though, if Mal was being honest to herself, she knew that the likelihood of Natalie not actually knowing about that incident was going to be about as big as Maleficent would learn to love and turn back into a human. Okay, let's go, Mal sighed to herself before strolling out of her room, hoping she at least looked her regular confident self, even if that was the last thing she felt like. After all, like the old saying went, fake it till you make it. Okay, just relax, Mal thought as she neared her meeting room with Natalie. You're going to go in there. Natalie will know. I swear it's like she can smell strife. You only have 3 more months until cotillion, anyway, and then a huge amount of your duties will be done. Nodding to herself, Mal sighed softly, before pushing open the door to yet another mentally painful few hours. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that because I hate that chapter so much. Oh my god, what is this woman doing to this poor girl? Thinking to change her eyes! And then, oh my god, that stress. I'm not going to go into everything that I have been through when it comes to people who are not kind to me, but I have never gone through something to this level. I've been bullied and I have anxiety issues like I've said, but having someone constantly neg her like this. Mal's so confident, she's so protective and put together, and seeing her reduced to this. Oh my god, and it's only going to get worse until it gets better, and I cannot wait for that chapter. I've read ahead and we've got a few more chapters to go before the blowout, but it is coming. This isn't going to go on for too much longer. Oh my god, she's not in many chapters, but I just want to punch Natalie so badly. You do not put a 16-year-old through this. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Something I do like in this chapter is that I like Macaria, Hillis and Herky coming up and scaring them away. I like how they summoned storm clouds to try the subtle approach and then just march straight through. Cousins coming in for a clutch, and I like that. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.